In this video I'm going to review Ganymede. This is a game that looks like a 4x game, but in truth I guess it's a 1x game. It is pretty much about expanding. You don't really get to exploit when your people get to the planet, pretty much that phase of the game is over. You don't get to exterminate, etc., etc. But it is about expanding. Yes, it is in fact a Euro game with the theme of a 4X game. In this Euro game, you are collecting meeples and you're moving them in different places across our solar system until they reach settler ships, and then when you form certain combinations of meeples in that area of your board, then you get to score the card. This is the general idea, very simple, very basic. Doesn't have to be bad because, as we know, Euro games sometimes are precisely about this, about very simple, very linear, very economic ideas that have somehow result in a deeper gameplay than we would expect in economic, elegant gameplay. Is Ganymede a Euro game of this kind? Well, stay tuned. Now I'm going to show you how the game plays, and then we're going to talk about the game in general in the conclusions of this video. Each player in the game has a personal board such as this one. The board has two slots where you will place cards representing settler ships. Your job is to place meeples on Earth. You will use game effects to generate those meeples. Then you will need to move them to Mars, and from Mars you will move your meeples to the different settler ships. Each ship has a condition. When you fulfill it, basically you complete the ship and you're able to score the card. The card that you place here, you can score it when you place three meeples of the same color. This is the card here when you have a meeple of each color on it. When you complete a ship, you simply take the card and you will score it at the end of the game. Here it tells you the amount of points that you score. For example, 2 points for each shuttle with that symbol. Here 4 points, but also this requires 1 fewer meeples to complete. So you will score these cards. During the game you will also acquire new cards so that you can replenish your areas there. And the game continues like this, with meeples showing up on Earth, moving around, being shuttled around the solar system and dumped on these on the ships until a player has scored 4 cards. That triggers the end of the game, or until one of the two shuttle decks, and I'll show them in a minute, are exhausted. When that happens, that also triggers the end of the game. Then you collect points from various sources, again from those cards. Here there's a reputation track. You will use game effects to move this cube and gain reputation, and there's also a number of victory points that comes with that. So you collect all of your victory points, and at the end of the game the player with the highest total is the winner of the game. But how do we get our meeples on the board, and then how do we get them to travel to Ganymede's, to Ganymede's settler ships? We need to collect resources, and we have several types of resources that we can gain. We have settler tiles, we have Earth shuttles, we have Mars shuttles, and then we have settler ships that are used to replenish these 2 slots. When it is your turn, you can do 1 or 3 things, and here there's a reminder of the things that you can do. One is you can collect a settler tile. There will be 4 available here, and there is a deck of draw tiles. These are always the starting tiles, and so for my action, for my turn, because you could take 1 action per turn, for my action I take a settler tile and I simply place it there. I have 3 slots. That means that I can have up to 3 settler tiles at a time. When I take a settler tile, I trigger the action. In this case, for example, I get to collect a blue meeple, which goes on Earth, and also I get to take 1 of these cards. And then we replenish the thing. Now, replenish the line. Now, as you can see, tiles have a symbol there in the top left corner. If basically what happens is that when I take a tile, I get to activate the effect of the tile that I just took a number of times equal to the number of symbols of that type in my settlers area. That's why when I take one of these tiles, if it's the first one, I have only one, I activate the effect once. This tile here, if I'm placing it now, since I already have a tile of precisely that kind, I get to activate this effect twice. The effect normally will give me a blue meeple or a purple meeple. That means I can take 2 blue meeples or 2 purple meeples, or 1 and 1. Because again, that is the second that I have. If I were to add a third one of the same type, then that one would give, I could activate it 3 times. But then suppose instead I want to do this one, now the actions that I can take is to gain a meeple or to gain a reputation point. If you have 3 tiles and you add a new one, then one is discarded and a new one is placed. Aha, now I have 2 red, so 2 red meeples or a meeple and a move. I could move one of my meeples across one of those arrows from Earth to Mars, Mars to one of the ships, or from one ship to another. Again, I could take any combination of those 2 actions. So that is for the option to spend your action for the turn to take a settler's tile and resolve it. Other thing that you can do is to take a shuttle card. There are 2 types of shuttle cards, the Earth cards and the Mars cards. They both work in the same way, in the sense that in order for you to acquire it, you need to have the required number and type of meeples in the correct position. For example, to take this card here, which is an Earth shuttle, I need to have a red and purple meeple on Earth, which I just so happen to have. So the meeples on top of the card tell me the requirements of the card and also the meeples that will be transported. If it's an Earth shuttle, they need to be on Earth and they will be transported to Mars, like so. After I take the card, on top of moving the meeples, I also get to perform the action at the bottom. If there is one, here I gain a reputation point. If I were to take this card, which requires a yellow meeple and requires me to discard a settler tile, then I could also have a free move, and so on and so forth. After you take a shuttle card, you place it at the bottom of your board in these slots here. Because, well, if you already have shuttles of that type, when you take a new shuttle, you get to perform the bonus action multiple times. Number of times equal to the number of shuttles you already have. For example, if I am performing this action now and I add it here, I move my 2 meeples, but since this is the second tile of that kind, I get this benefit, I get this extra action. I get to perform it twice. So really nice. At the same time, however, there's also an incentive in diversifying, because if you diversify, you get to complete one of your ships or other ships for free, even if it's still incomplete. But you need to have 1 shuttle per kind to be able to do so. Otherwise, again, you have to go the traditional way. 3 meeples of a kind or a meeple per kind. The Mars shuttles work exactly the same, meaning in the sense that you have certain requirements that you need to pay, and that also you may have to discard settler tiles. You have to be able to show that you had those meeples. Those are the meeples that get transported, but now for the card to apply, they have to be on Mars and they get to be transported. There instead. If at the end of your turn you have been able to meet the conditions of one of the shuttle of the settler ships, again you simply discard these meeples and you score it. The third action that is available to you during the turn is in truth a multi-action. Basically that allows you to discard 1, 2, 3 of your settler tiles. Of course, you need to have at least 1 to take that action. You discard them, and then you can perform extra actions, extra basic actions, equal to the number of tiles that you discarded. I just discarded 2 settler tiles, then I can take any 2 of these actions here, which are I can gain any meeple and place it on Earth. I can move any meeple across an arrow. I can change the color of a meeple. Well, I simply exchange it. I can gain a reputation point, that is, I move the cube on that track that I showed you earlier. Or I can choose to take a new settler ships, so I have more options when I get to score one. The reputation track, as we said, gives you victory points, and also when you land on the gear symbol, you get the basic action, which again is any one of these. So this is how the game works, really. You're trying to create the right sets of meeples on Earth and on Mars, so you can acquire shuttles and move your meeples to complete these settler ships. At the same time, you want to also probably to create patterns that will score you more points, that will increase your reputation. So there are different ways of scoring points, but mainly reputation and settler ships. At the end of the game, the player with the highest total is the winner of the game. We enjoy Ganymede. We've all found it quite impressive. At the beginning, it seemed a little too obvious. The engine thing, of course, I'm gonna build a big engine with all my shuttles of a single symbol, all of my settler styles of the same symbol, so I can maximize, etc., etc. But in truth, the game has some built-in interesting balancing mechanisms. For example, my settler tiles. I built I have 2 blue tiles, I'm gonna take another one, I can use it 3 times, hooray! And then I'm gonna get another blue one, so I can do that again, but I can't, there are no blue settler tiles available now. As you build the engine, you're also reducing the resources that you need to fuel that engine, to keep using it. And then maybe there is another blue tile that allows me to do 3 times something that I don't need, because now I need another meeple, and there is another color. And so what you do, you take the action that allows you to discard all of the settler styles, all 3 if you want, to take 3 actions, which is pretty powerful. To me, this is a very interesting idea, because this is a small engine building game. Engine building games in general sometimes have a problem with me. That is, I like the fact that you're building your engine of resources throughout the game, but some of these games, you make some mistakes early on. Your engine starts falling behind the curve, and there's a positive loop. Better engines allow the players to improve their engines faster, and you never catch up. So some engine building games have a single arc of progression, and if you are not keeping up with that, there is no chance here. Here you're not building one big epic engine throughout the game. You're building these small engines that give you pretty sweet rewards, but once you use them once or twice, there isn't much use for them anymore. And so what you do, you scuttle them, you take them apart. I like this idea. It really fits the theme, surprisingly enough. The idea is that, in fact, as far as we know, when people will go and colonize Mars from our planet, one of the things that scientists tell us they will do is to turn their ships into their colonies, into the places where they will live. And well, I like this. Build an engine, becomes irrelevant, to take it apart and start building another one. And as for the shuttles, I like the fact that it's nice, again, to activate the same effect multiple times if you have many shuttles of the same color. But again, you have to balance the fact that the shuttle that you need to transport the meeples may not be of a color that you have. And also you have to balance that with the fact that the incentive of launching an incomplete settler ship, that is, you still get to score the card if you have a shuttle of each color. That is a big incentive, because you are launching a ship that basically has almost no one on it. With that set, that saves you a lot of time. So you really have a very simple game, because it really is about take a settler tile, or if you can, take a shuttle card. That's like 80% of the game. But the decisions are interesting, but the decisions are sweet. So what you have here is a game that is very simple. It's no more complex than Carcassonne, definitely much easier to score than Carcassonne. and the first thing, of course, because of the meeples, I see the connection. But really, the weight in terms of complexity of the design is around that. It's around that area there. It's no more complex than that. It's very pleasant. Has a lot of interesting small decisions. And again, I like the fact that you have a tactical element. You react to what's available at the time, and a longer term strategy because you want to build a certain set, you want to build a certain ship. But at the same time, these two levels really go well together. And what I like is that you commit to certain things that, however, are not going to be game breaking one way or the other. It's not the strategy that you commit to is going to win automatically regardless of what happens, or you make a mistake there, you're out of the race. You have interesting decisions that will give you relatively decent advantages, but that means that you have to make several of those good decisions as you go. That also made the game more relaxing. I mean, we're still interested, and we really got the sense that the game, it pays off to play the game strategically, to pay attention to what you're doing and maximize the opportunities that you have. But at the same time, we didn't feel that a single mistake would kick you out of the race. It felt like it was a fairly forgiving game. So, overall, Ganymede, it has really nice looking components, meeples, we're suckers for those, and I'm nothing against that. I'm definitely one of those meepleophiles. So the more meeples, the better. So the components are good. The rules are simple, linear, but it's really a simple but smooth engine with a lot of interesting small decisions, non-epic or mind-blowing or particularly new even, but everything has been put together nicely. It's a smooth game engine that is pleasant. It gives you interesting decisions. It gives you reasons to be excited about what's happening or what may happen next. But it doesn't give you a brain burn. It doesn't give you a sort of like commitment. You don't cry at the end if that big move that you were planning doesn't happen. There will be another one that be maybe not as good, but will maybe just be good enough. It is a game that is made of a lot of small good things that when you put them together turn out to be more than the sum of the part. In general, I found Ganymede to be a simple, light Euro game, but one that definitely is fun and worth playing.